Mom said I didn't need the house. That Leo needed it more, because I've always been the independent one. But no one ever asked me. Did I choose to be? My name is Isabel Fan. I'm 29 years old. I'm a civil engineer. I live alone in Portland, Oregon, 3 hours from my mother's home, and my entire life has been summed up in 4 words. She's the strong one. I learned how to wash dishes by the time I was 7, folded my own laundry at 8, cooked my own dinner in 5th grade. Every time I did something on my own, Mom would proudly tell the neighbors, "She doesn't need help, she's got it all figured out." Meanwhile, my little brother Leo, he tied his shoes once and got a celebration. He had a mild seasonal allergy. Mom took 3 days off work. I had a 102-degree fever. She gave me Tylenol and said, "Hang in there, sweetie. Leo needs me right now." I was 10, and I remember lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, swallowing tears like they were shame. I didn't feel jealous. I just wondered, was I ever allowed to be soft? I brought home straight A's. Mom shrugged. "Of course, you're Isabel." Leo barely scraped a B-. He got pizza and cake. I earned a full scholarship to one of the top engineering schools. Mom's response, "Good, that means I don't have to take out loans." I didn't ask for much. I didn't want to be a burden. All I ever wanted was for someone to look at me like they were proud. But no one ever did. Then, when I was 19, Dad passed away. I flew home for the funeral, wearing an old black dress I borrowed from my roommate. Leo showed up in a tailored suit. Mom clung to him the whole time. I stood in the back of the church. Alone, I didn't cry. Not because I wasn't heartbroken, but because in my family, there was never room for my grief. 10 years after Dad passed, Mom organized a small memorial gathering. Just family. Just to honor his memory, she said. I almost didn't go. We hadn't spoken much since I moved out. Not because we fought, we just didn't talk. There was nothing to say anymore. Still, something told me I should show up. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe some tiny part of me hoped she'd look at me and finally say, "I'm proud of you." I brought a photo I'd restored. Dad standing on the porch with me and Leo when we were little. I had scanned it, cleaned up the edges, printed it in a wood frame. When I arrived, Leo was already there. He looked tired, older, like life had been a little too soft and suddenly turned hard. We exchanged a quick hug. No tension. No warmth either, just habit. Mom came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands. She gave me a quick glance, then smiled wider at Leo. Nothing new. Dinner was simple. Quiet. After dessert, we sat in the living room. Mom reached for a manila envelope sitting on the coffee table. "I want to talk about the house," she said. My stomach tensed. She looked at me, then Leo. "I'm getting older. I don't want to leave things messy later. I've decided the house will go to Leo." I blinked, not because I didn't expect it, but because she said it so casually, like it was just paperwork. She kept going. "You've always been so independent, Isabel. You don't need this, Leo." He's still figuring things out. I didn't speak. Not right away. Because in that moment, all the unspoken things, the birthdays forgotten, the trophies ignored, the years I held myself together with no one checking in, they all screamed inside my head. Finally, I said, "Did Dad agree to this?" She hesitated. For the first time that evening, her voice faltered. "We never really talked about it, but you know your father, he believed in fairness." Fairness? I almost laughed. I looked at Leo. He didn't meet my eyes. "Mom," I said quietly, "you say I don't need it, but did anyone ever ask what I do need?" She flinched, slight but real. Then she said something I didn't expect. "I kept something from you for a long time." something your father wanted you to have, and maybe it's time. She stood up and walked to the hallway closet. When she returned, she was holding a small tin box, hands trembling. "It's from the year he died," she whispered. "He wrote it for you. I wasn't ready to let you read it, but I think you should." She placed the box in my lap. My fingers froze. The lid creaked. Inside was a single envelope. On the front, to Isabel. When the silence gets too loud. I stared at the envelope. The edges were yellowed. The ink on my name slightly smudged, like he'd held it for a long time before letting it go. I didn't open it right away. Something in me hesitated, like whatever was inside would rearrange everything I thought I knew. Mom sat across from me. Her hands were clasped tightly, knuckles white. Leo stayed quiet, his eyes flicked between us, confused. I broke the seal, unfolded the letter. Dad's handwriting, blocky, precise, patient, like he'd written it slowly, deliberately. "My Izzy, if you're reading this, then your mother finally decided you were ready. Or maybe she was. I don't know where you are in life now. But I imagine you're still carrying more than you should. That's the kind of daughter we raised. The kind who carried the silence so others wouldn't have to." I paused, the words blurred, my throat ached, I kept reading. "There's something you never knew. When you were 6, your mother and I were at our breaking point. Jobs weren't steady, money was tight. Leo had just been diagnosed with chronic asthma. Your mother panicked. She came to me one night and said, 'Maybe we send Izzy to live with your sister. Just for a year or two. She's strong. She'll adapt.' I said no, not just because you're my daughter, but because I saw what she didn't. I saw the way you waited by the door when I came home. I saw how you packed your brother's lunch when we forgot. I saw a little girl already carrying a world that didn't love her loud enough. And I told your mother, if we choose A's over Izzy, we don't deserve to call ourselves a family. So we stayed together. And from that night on, she treated you differently, not cruelly, just distantly, out of guilt, out of shame." I stopped breathing, out of guilt, out of shame, not because I did anything wrong, but because I wasn't the one she almost gave up. I looked at Mom. She wasn't crying, not yet, but her eyes glistened, like she'd been waiting 20 years to exhale. "I wanted to protect you," she said. Her voice was smaller than I'd ever heard it. "But every time you succeeded without needing me, I hated myself a little more. And I thought the best thing I could do was stay out of your way." I felt like the room had tilted. All the birthdays with store-bought cupcakes, all the soccer games she never came to, all the "I knew you'd be fine" texts. All of it, not because I wasn't worth loving, but because she didn't know how to love what she'd once tried to let go. I folded the letter slowly, placed it back in the tin box, and for a moment, no one said anything. It wasn't anger I felt, not even sadness anymore, just clarity, a calm that comes after the truth finally stops hiding. "I deserved to know this a long time ago," I said quietly. Mom nodded, eyes down. "I know. And you never once asked me what I needed." My voice didn't shake. It didn't need to. I wasn't asking for anything anymore. "You were so strong," she whispered. "I thought maybe you didn't want me involved." "No," I said. "I just got tired of reaching out and feeling the cold." She looked like she wanted to cry, but I didn't want her tears. I wanted her respect. And that would have to be earned. I turned to Leo. He finally looked at me. "I didn't know," he said. "I swear." I believed him because Leo wasn't cruel. He was just sheltered, cushioned by a mother who gave everything to the child she once feared losing, and nothing to the one she nearly let go. "I'm not angry at you," I said, "but I won't be erased again, not quietly, not politely." Mom opened her mouth. I raised a hand. I'm keeping the house. They froze. I'm not doing it out of spite, I added. I'm doing it because it's the first time I'm choosing myself. Not what's easy, not what's expected, me. Mom swallowed hard. Leo needs. Leo can still visit. He can still be part of this family. If he chooses to build, not just receive. I turned to my brother. You said you wanted to start over. Here's your chance. We build it together. But no more rescues, no more silence. He nodded slowly. For the first time. His voice was steady. I want that, he said, for real this time. I exhaled, 20 years of held breath. Finally released. It's been 5 months since that night. The house is quiet now, but not in the lonely way it used to be. There's laughter in the kitchen sometimes. Books stacked in corners. Blueprints on the table, coffee rings on top. Leo's learning how to build things. With his hands, with his time. And slowly with his words. We call it our renovation era, not just for the cracked ceiling or warped floorboards, but for the relationships, the boundaries, and the truths we're finally learning how to live with. Mom hasn't visited. She sends messages sometimes. I read them. Sometimes I answer. Sometimes I don't. Healing doesn't always look like reconnection. Sometimes it's just learning how to stop bleeding. The letter from Dad stays in my desk drawer. I reread it when doubt creeps in, when the voice in my head says, "You're too much, you don't need this, be quiet." His words remind me, I was never too much. I was just never allowed to be enough, so I decided to make space. With a portion of my savings, I started a mentorship program for young women in male-dominated fields, the girls who were told they were strong enough to handle it, and therefore given nothing. I called it the Loud Room, a place where they don't have to whisper their worth. Once a month, we hold small gatherings in the living room. There's tea, laptops, and conversations that stretch late into the night. Some nights we cry. Most nights we laugh. All nights we're heard. And Leo, he helps with setup. Sometimes he just listens. Other times he speaks. He says things like, "I didn't know silence could be so loud until Isabel turned the volume back up." He's building his own thing now, a community coding club for teens who have been told they're not technical enough. He says he learned that from me. I smile when he says that, not because I need the credit, but because he finally sees me, really sees me. Last week, I stood in the kitchen, sunlight hitting the floor just right, and I realized something. I didn't fight for the house because I needed a roof. I fought for the girl I used to be, the one who waited to be chosen, to be wanted, to be heard, and now she knows. She never had to earn it. She was worthy all along. If you've ever been the one who was overlooked, the strong one, the you'll be fine sibling, this story is for you. Hit subscribe, not just for more stories, but because it's time someone told yours.